Hey, what's up, YouTube gaming family? It is IK right here, back at it with another video for y'all today. Playing a little live stream clip of, live stream broadcast of Do Gaming TV or Do Gaming Z. Please go check him out. Good YouTuber. Like watching his streams a lot. He plays a lot of Mortal Kombat 1 and Street Fighter and Tekken. So, I have a pretty good video to talk about for today, and before we do that, be sure to hit the like button, share the video around, and I appreciate every single one of you guys that come around to the channel. So, yeah, for today's video, we have a pretty interesting topic to discuss for tonight. This particular video is a little bit of a debatable topic, which a lot of weirdos like to think it's possible to ever have this within our particular lifetime, or even like maybe like 50 years or maybe like 100 years into the future, which I find it to be disingenuous. But yeah, I guess to kind of discuss about it, the title of this video will be, is space travel possible for the human species to go to other planets and live in? And this is really like a weird sci-fi topic that a lot of people kind of get their minds wrapped around to think it's possible. And I don't know if people watch too much Star Wars or watch too much Star Trek, but I think this is kind of like the dumbest argument that a lot of people get themselves cracked up into, because a lot of people, based off of how they analyze the world's technology, they still have like the status mindset to kind of like bring their mindset into thinking that, well, with the technology that humans do have, we're somehow able to make it work to the level of which, if a government nation state is developing the technology, which, government's not a producer, just to make it clear as day, which, for this video, y'all know me, I have like a pretty strong libertarian mindset, and I'm going to give you my analysis based off of how I see this. But I personally believe that if space travel would ever be successful, it needs to be purely marketized, where the state does have, like, government has no interference within space marketing in terms of having to promote space travel. And therefore, when space companies get enough money to be fundraised, or let's just say businesses want to invest in it, because there is money to be made if it is marketable and profitable, which to a degree I would say it's really not, because I will give you like my point of view of why, but I will just kind of make this easier to say that if there is a market and there is good funding for it, and therefore individuals want to support that market, then there will be a lot of support for that market to grow. So, for this particular matter, when we're having to analyze what space travel can do, space travel can go very far if markets were able to expand their power. Therefore, businesses were able to invest more money into projects that were worth going for. Like, for example, you have Red Bull. They have, like, they have their own space program to this day. But imagine what Red Bull can do if they actually had a lot more money to invest in a good space program, along with Elon Musk's SpaceX program. That's a really great program. May not be the best program out of all programs, but still, like, Tesla's getting into it, Red Bull's getting into it, and who knows, maybe Pepsi, they might get into it. Like, all these big multi-billion-dollar chains, which, if you remove the whole concept of corporations and just have large, business entity firms that have good money to be invested into the projects for space travel, the endless opportunities are there. But the problem with it is that it's the massive cost behind it. What if it fails? What if space travel does not go the way that humans try to, manifest it? To say, well, it could be good, it could be bad, but why not just give it a try and just go? Well, what happens if it doesn't work out well? I mean, we've seen it before with the Apollo 13, US, I guess like the NASA experiment with Apollo 13 where, the spaceship took off and I think like 13 astronaut pilots ended up dying or something like that. I forgot how many people died, but still, um, it's more to say of that personally with me, there's no reason to really go to other planets because the amount of investment and amount of risk that they have to go to another planet just to settle there is pretty super risky and very expensive to do. Granted, you have like your standard, idiot human that would say, well, what makes you think that there's no other life out there? And therefore, life, can't be discovered for us humans to see. Why can't we just go explore the world and just do whatever we want? Um, yeah, like, I'm gonna kind of give you guys like my whole take on this because this is pretty much similar to the alien argument. Like, personally, with me, I don't believe aliens exist because I think mankind is the only living species next to animals. Therefore, this particular world that we live in, this current galaxy, is the last bit of life that is left, in the particular galaxy for this particular solar system in the billions upon zillions of stars that are going throughout multiple different eons of different galactical timelines. And I like, I may be over exaggerating by saying, but like over exaggerating, like exaggerating myself by saying that, but I do believe that this particular realm of life that is to be existent in the modern galaxy of like where humans are living is the only last bit of life that is to be in existence for this current galactical realm. So, based off of the modern galaxy of what's here in the solar system, every single planet that is around Earth maybe had life at one point in time, but then that life ended up dying due to different conditional changes within the environment where maybe there was life with some forms of aliens, but then those aliens ended up dying off because their genetics were not strong enough to live in the massive like evolution of those planets that were there for like billions upon trillions of years. Like honestly, like we humans don't really know how old most of these planets really are, but a good estimate would state that a lot of these planets were here for like billions of years at least. Like, who knows? I'll probably just go off of like a wild guess. They could have been around for like 5 to 10 years. Of like, well, 5 to 10, like, billion years. Like, yeah, like, I'm sorry. I'm just like getting I'm just getting tired. So, um, I will say, like, my personal belief is that if there is to be life on other planets and there is a means to explore the world, there would need to be a massive investment of human technology to be sustainable enough, and we need to find a way to bring life to other planets so therefore mankind can live there. Because the problem with living on other planets is that these solar system these other planets within the solar system are not sustainable with the resources that they carry. So what that means is that you have a pretty how should I say, you have a pretty massive how should I say, like, you have massive discrepancies with planets that don't sustain the same way as Earth does, and those planets can go a certain direction where if they are not able to sustain with the same environmental functions as Earth, then staying on that planet for too long or even trying to settle there, you're just going to kill yourself being there. So, for example, like, I'll just take a planet like, like the moon. Obviously, people will say, well, well, the moon's not really like a planet, but still, that's a cratered planet that has cratered, you know, basically asteroid rock, but it's very dense. And when astronauts went to the moon, quote unquote, which I don't really think, most of, well, I'm not even gonna get into like the whole moon landing because I think like the moon landing crap could have been fake. But let's just say everything was real. What makes you think that mankind can survive on the moon when for one there's no oxygen and two there's no gravity, so therefore you can't properly stay on a planet. So therefore everything that you move around the planet does not revolve effectively, in the world. So on top of that, you're also putting your body at risk because one, I do know that there was like a scientific article that was made on I want to say like the United States astronauts that went out to the moon, quote unquote, and a good portion of those astronauts ended up getting a lot of severe sicknesses where they lost a lot of blood when they were at the uh, yeah, when they were on the moon, and they weren't able to stay on, on the moon for too long. Therefore, having to stay on the moon was a lot riskier versus being inside like their spaceship, which was their only means of being safe and actually being like us actually being sustainable. So my only argumentation against going to another planet is that a lot of planets have a lot of deadly environmental components that can very well harm the human body very quickly. So like if you go out to Neptune, I know Neptune is a very freezing planet, similar to Pluto in a way, but if you go to Neptune, Neptune has sub-zero temperature, and I'm not talking like sub-zero for Mortal Kombat, but guess what? If you stay on Neptune for like let's just say I don't even know, like maybe like let's just say, you're there for like a few hours, your whole body can like turn into like literally frozen ice where you're no longer able to think and breathe, and then you'll just automatically die while you're sitting inside like your spacesuit. So it's like my only contention to go into other planets is that one, are we just gonna live as astronauts as humans just to go to like another planet and just think that's just gonna be our way to live? Because the answer is going to be no. Because that means that how are you going to bring billions of humans from one planet to another planet? And then on top of that, even if spaceships are fast enough, well, even if they get to the point of reaching to the speed of light in order to time travel that fast to another planet, which I find that to be very very disingenuous, and I don't find that to be possible because there's no way that mankind could ever make a device that can be as fast as the speed of light. So how would scientists even be able to develop such a machine that powerful where we could have spaceships to like yeah we could have spaceships that strong enough to go to another planet and be able to sustain the amount of pressure and the amount of velocity to go through one a lot of cratered asteroids where if you get hit one time by a asteroid on the spaceship, everybody's literally dying. It doesn't matter what anybody says. No matter how fast a ship is going or spaceship it is actually going, no matter where the conditions are, depending on if you're going through multiple different planets just to even understand like where everything is going to be, you're still putting a lot of people's lives at risk. But on top of that, you don't really know where the next destination is to to even be settling for for particular resources, because the main issue is like what would mankind be able to do when there's a need for resources having to travel to other planets, and then on top of that, where do we go to even refill our resources for food, for spaceship fuel? What if what if these spaceships that we have end up just breaking on the way over there? How are humans going to be able to solve the economic calculation problem to even understand where things can go for proper investments for space. Yeah, for spaceship travel. So pretty much that's my only contention to that, because I don't think there's anything in the world, especially even with the rare earth elements that we humans are like, are able to find, can be strong enough to sustain any means of going to other planets and having to be safe, actually going there. Hold on, give me 1 second. All right, I'm back. So, yeah, basically, to kind of finalize this, like, the amount of time and effort to even try to find resources to even fund space travel is, one, it's very costly, and two, who's really going to be funding it, despite, like, even if you try to bring, like, the whole government situation to it, which I just find that crap to be, like, really disingenuous. But the whole thing is that you're not going to convince anyone to say that, hey, let's just spend billions upon billions of dollars to think that the average human is going to be okay with thinking that having political funding to even fund space travel is something to be possible, when the truth of the matter is that there's nothing that supports space travel to even be profitable at all. Because no matter how much you tax it, even if you were to even have like a state that were to do it, that governing institution is going to waste more money having to get the money together. And then if it fails in terms of building what the resources for that particular means, yeah, you're pretty much screwed at this point. Well, at yeah, like you're pretty much screwed at that point. So, I mean, that's pretty much all I have to say on that. But let's just say, even if space travel was to be successful, the amount of possibilities to even live effectively would be so bad, to the point where mankind would actually have to be very smart with understanding the economic calculation problem. And on top of that, you know, like making sure that that resources aren't going scarce, because once resources go scarce and you have no means to even replenish your resources effectively or even plan, then at that point you're basically done. So, I mean, that's pretty much what I would have to say. I mean, there's really nothing I can really say in terms of what I can really think of. But if you were to just ask me, like, what is like the better means to kind of, make mankind better for, space travel, I would say there's really none at this moment. See, now, let's just say that if we develop AI robots, and therefore AI robots can go to other planets and then live on those other planets, and therefore we find a way to control, some means of resources in order to use the robots to go to those areas, and therefore, planets can actually bring back life where you're able to breathe in those planets, then that would be cool. Like, that would be cool if there was like some heavy level, advanced science, in the what if scenario that AI robot drones were to be created, in the event of having to find, um, you know, potential life on, on other planets. And I think that would be really cool. Now, as far as it being effective, I don't think that's always going to be effective, because what if the robots die on the way there, and who's going to be able to perform maintenance on them? Which I would probably say, let's just say, if the robots had like a self maintenance system, or you had like other robots that were designed to fix those robots, even if they were to like shut down, which, let's just say, if they had like a charging component to kind of go inside like a station, and they were able to like charge while like, I don't know, like they're able to kind of like charge while they're going to go to go into that mode of like, I don't know, having to shut down, like that would be pretty cool. I mean, it would be dope, but it's like it's not always gonna be like the best scenario. So that's why I don't know, like that's why people that want to say, having humans taking the risk to go out there would be good, but the whole thing is like you're really not going to really get much success if mankind cannot understand the economic calculation problem, even from a economics perspective, to understand what we need to do as a species to develop proper resources to go out to another planet and actually find means to even get the resources together in order to, you know, develop what the proper means to, I guess, like, I don't know, maybe revive life to go to those other planets. So I think like that's just my personal viewpoint. Like I personally cannot envision a worldview where mankind can just go to another planet and we can just lavishly live the same life like we do on planet Earth. I personally believe that mankind should focus on their own problems and we don't need to be going to any other planets anytime soon. And hey, if anybody want to go to like another planet and then guess what? They end up dying, on the way over there, let them do that because you're going to make a big like you're making a big risk for something that you don't have to do. And it's like saying like, "Oh, well, why doesn't anybody go out to Antarctica?" Well, the reason why people don't go out to Antarctica is simply because Antarctica, one, it's very cold there, and two, it's pretty dangerous with the polar bears. So even if you got guns out there to kind of treat it like Alaska, you're probably destroying the environment by even attacking them because one, the polar bears serve a purpose in like in terms of basically hunting, hunting the fish, hunting the seals or anything to that manner. So I mean, that's pretty good. It's very effective, but the reason why nobody ever thinks about going out to Antarctica is simply because Antarctica has no resources for people to homestead, any means of property. So therefore, nobody ever really thinks about really going over there. So it's not really habitable. Well, yeah, it's not really it's not really inhabitable in the sense of, you could just go there and just kind of do whatever like you want. So, there's like many means to kind of like go about it, but it's like, you don't really need to really go out there and experience it for yourself because it's like nobody's never really asking anybody to go out to Antarctica and create a society to say, "Hey, can we really settle over there?" When the truth is that Antarctica is just a type of place in the world where nobody doesn't really have interest to really go over there and actually see what life is like over in Antarctica. So, I mean, that's pretty much what I would have to say. Um, I mean, personally, I think that's just how I would see it. So, I mean, even if life was to be like discovered in another planet, but we are not able to live our life, um, for the sake of having to even discover life, on another planet, then I don't think it's really worth seeing that. So yeah, I think personally with me, it's pretty stupid if you ask me, because even if you try to tell me, well, you're just being disingenuous, you should, be more optimistic, like about it. Um, yeah, I mean, I just don't think, I don't know. I think honestly, um, there's really nothing that you can really say to me that there would be anything worth going to another planet, because if that planet just provides just like another place for humans to live, and then you have like these weird dumb environmentalists that go out of it their way trying to be so, worried about, oh, the earth is gonna die, everybody's just gonna be wiped out and everybody's gonna die. Like, dude, like, what's your solution, like in saying that the world is gonna end and therefore we need to go to another planet, therefore we can live our life better? How are we going to live our lives better when we don't even have any proper means to take care of our own planet? So therefore, we're just going to do the same thing at another planet. So I would just say no, that just doesn't make any sense. So I think it's better to kind of just live our lives here and go our own way where we need to go. I mean, that's just how I see it. Like, I don't care about what any people will, any weirdo tries to say that the world's gonna end and therefore, our lives are not gonna be any better having to live on Earth if humans continue to be like so wasteful and all this crazy nonsense, which I don't understand, like why people go to that means of even talking like that, because it's like not all people are just lazy, disingenuous individuals. So I mean, that's just how I see it. I don't act like that, and I just do what I do. But I try to take care of my environment, but I don't go out of like my way saying that we need to force other people to bend, to basically bow down and just live like pretty much like a slave, to to say that we need to, be like so conscious of the world, and therefore if you don't basically respect environmentalism, you need to be, purely punished, as if all of mankind needs to be, severely punished for hurting Mother Nature, and therefore you need to you need to have like the crime of being treated like a poor, disgusting, individual. It's like you realize like this earth has existed long before humans had survived, and animals alone have probably done more harm to the environment compared to humans, where animals have probably killed each other way more in higher numbers. They've overpopulated their population way more than anybody else. So there's no doubt about that. But then when humans had first been spawned to the earth, we were far more capable in creating a societal structure where we can kill most of the animal population, but we can create a much better environment for them where we're living our life as as sustainable as we can, but the animal population is far more less violent because Mother Nature is not having to go out of its way to correct itself, where animals are constantly fighting every day, and therefore there's no, there's no ultimate regulator such as a human to correct the, I guess, like the constant fighting by natural, threats per se. So I mean, that's just pretty much how I see that. Like, I think that's just my personal thing. Um, I think I think I think that's just how I would pretty much do it. Um, I think a lot of people just fearmonger to say that mankind needs to go to another planet, or else we're all just gonna pass away. And I don't think that's really smart. I think it's pretty dumb if you ask me. If people really think going to another planet is a good thing, I don't think it's good, because what if, the resources on the way don't work out and people end up not having to survive effectively? You're gonna just walk yourself into like a death trap where if there's something that goes wrong on a planet and you're not able to solve a particular situation where you end up having to be, sick due to new diseases that arise out of like a planet, yeah, that's on you. And I think living on Earth is far more safer, because at least in Earth, you don't have to deal with like, the concept of, okay, like what happens if somebody does have a massive disease, and even though that disease is not as potent, it's still like a disease where mankind can like understand and figure out a solution to cure or to even treat the disease alone. So I think honestly, I'd rather live my life on Earth, for the rest of my life, than just go to like another planet and then trust other stranger humans to be around me as if that's gonna be like the better way of going about, you know, I guess living like a good life. No, like I rather not go to another planet and think that's going to be any better for me. So yeah, I think technology will never get there, and I think where it stands right now, we don't really need to waste any time, and I think where we need to go is that we just need to focus on ourselves, and mankind needs to build their particular functions where we need to, how should I say, we need to um, go about our way where we need to um, basically fix our world first, and then eventually everything else will come along later on down the road. Because like again, everything that's going on with the human world, where everybody is so like divided and people want to like go to war with each other, like I don't think that's really very like intelligent, and all you're gonna do is kind of just walk mankind into like a death trap where if people have bad interests to go to like another planet and just kind of think of themselves to 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 be disingenuous towards other people, then I don't think going to another planet makes any sense. So that's just how I see it. That's my personal belief. And I don't watch any sci-fi movies to kind of fault myself into that. So I just kind of go off of the reality to say that, realistically speaking and logically speaking, that there's really nothing that you can say that going to the mode of even going to space travel to like a Star Trek or even Star Wars type of mindset would even be possible, because one, even in those particular films or I guess like shows per se, they never really explain like how they managed to even get their resources in the first place to even go out to another planet. So it's like when people even go off of like that, like off of that dumb like sci-fi fiction nonsense, all you're really doing is just kind of like believing in like very, how should I say, like basically you're believing in very nonsensical, how should I say, nonsensical bias information that that does not mean that that information is going to be effective in the future to even look back to. So it's basically just disingenuous behavior, because all you're really doing is just creating a mindset in which anybody goes out of what their way thinking that is going to be what the end truth of like where things will be, and that's simply not true. So either way, it's a recipe for disaster, and I don't believe in it. So yeah, that's pretty much it, man. I will see you guys later, and let me know what you guys think, and I will catch you guys on the next one. Thank you guys for watching. Have a good day. I got more videos coming, and peace and goodbye.